stood in my own driveway, staring at a massive orange eviction notice taped to my front door. My keys wouldn't turn in the lock. The deadbolt had been changed. When I furiously banged on the wood, the door didn't open to a robber or a landlord. It opened to my mother-in-law, Martha, wearing my favorite silk robe and holding a cup of my expensive coffee. She looked down her nose at me, smiled, and said, "You have exactly 1 hour to get your things off my property, Chloe." I laughed, thinking it was a sick joke. We owned this house. My name was on the deed. Or so I thought, until she handed me a legal document signed by my husband, David. He hadn't just defaulted on a loan. He had secretly transferred the entire title of our $400,000 home to his mother behind my back. David and I had been married for 3 years. On the outside, we were the perfect upwardly mobile couple. He was a high-end real estate consultant, and I ran a successful digital marketing agency. When we bought our colonial-style house in the suburbs of Atlanta, I provided 80% of the down payment, using my inheritance. But because I was traveling for a massive tech conference during the closing week, David handled the paperwork. He assured me both our names were on everything. I trusted him blindly. That was my first mistake. The signs were always there, hidden under the guise of family loyalty. Martha was a master manipulator who lived way beyond her means. She viewed David not as a son, but as a personal piggy bank and an extension of her own ego. Every holiday, every vacation, she demanded his financial presence. If David bought me a designer bag, he secretly bought her one too, just to avoid her explosive guilt trips. I tolerated it because I loved him, and because he always promised me that we were his real priority. But 3 months ago, Martha's boutique clothing business went bankrupt, leaving her with massive debt. She faced losing her luxury condo. David became distant, whispering on late-night phone calls in the garage and abruptly closing his laptop whenever I walked into the room. When I asked if everything was okay, he'd kiss my forehead and say, "Just dealing with a stressful client, babe. Don't worry about it." I didn't worry. Until the day I came home from a 4-day business trip to find my code locked out of the smart security system, my clothes packed into garbage bags on the porch, and my mother-in-law living in my master bedroom. When David finally answered my 20 consecutive phone calls, his voice wasn't apologetic. It was cold, defensive, and entirely scripted. "Chloe, relax," he said, sounding like a robot. "It's a temporary financial maneuver. My mom was going to lose everything. Because of a loophole in the initial closing documents, since your inheritance came from an out-of-state trust, only my name was legally registered on the primary title. I had the right to sign it over. We're a family. What's ours is hers." "You gave away my house!" I screamed, standing in the driveway as rain started to pour. "I paid for 80% of it." "And you'll get it back eventually," he snapped. "Mom is going to take out a home equity line of credit against the house to pay off her business debts, clear her name, and then we'll transfer it back to us next year. Just stay at a hotel for a few weeks. Stop being so selfish." He hung up. In that exact second, the heartbreak hardened into pure, unadulterated rage. They thought they had outsmarted me. They thought because I was a successful, educated woman, I would quietly hire a lawyer, play by the rules, and spend 3 years in court trying to undo the paperwork, while they lived large on my dime. They forgot what I did for a living. I didn't just run a marketing agency, I specialized in corporate forensics, digital footprints, and public relations crises. I knew how to find things people wanted desperate to hide. And more importantly, I knew exactly how greedy Martha and David truly were. They wanted the house? Fine. I was going to make sure that house became their absolute ruin. Instead of crying in a hotel room, I rented a luxury Airbnb downtown and went to work. I hired a private forensic accountant and a top-tier asset protection attorney. Within 48 hours, we uncovered the messy truth. David hadn't just transferred the house out of the goodness of his heart. Martha had been blackmailing him. She had discovered that David had been embezzling funds from his high-end real estate firm to fund his own failed crypto investments, and she threatened to turn him in unless she gave her the house to bail her out of her own bankruptcy. But they made one fatal, arrogant decision. To expedite the home equity line of credit and get maximum cash out of my house immediately, Martha lied on her official bank application. She claimed the property was a fully operational, income-generating luxury rental asset with no existing liabilities. And David forged the fake lease agreements using his firm's official digital watermarks to prove it. They were trying to pull out $300,000 in cash within 10 days. I didn't stop the loan. I let it go through. The moment the bank approved the $300,000 check and deposited it into Martha's account, I dropped the hammer. First, I submitted a comprehensive anonymous fraud dossier directly to the bank's federal compliance officer, complete with the real property records, the forged lease agreements, and the metadata showing David's computer created the fakes. Bank fraud is a federal offense in the United States. Second, I sent a duplicate copy of the embezzlement files to the managing partners at David's real estate firm. The dominoes fell with terrifying speed. Within 48 hours, the bank froze Martha's accounts, but the money was already tied up in her past debts. Because the loan was obtained through systemic identity and corporate forgery, the bank immediately called the entire loan due under emergency fraud clauses. David was fired by noon on Thursday. By Friday morning, federal investigators were knocking on Martha's freshly changed front door.
2 weeks later, I sat in a sleek conference room across from David and Martha. David looked hollowed out, his expensive suit wrinkled, his hands shaking. Martha looked 10 years older, her smug attitude completely gone, replaced by a desperate, panicked sweat. Because the house was bought largely with my clean, traceable inheritance funds, and because David's transfer was deemed a fraudulent conveyance intended to hide assets from both me and his employers, the court ordered the title immediately reverted to my sole name. David faced up to 5 years in federal prison for corporate embezzlement and bank fraud. Martha was facing criminal conspiracy charges and total irreversible bankruptcy. "Please, Chloe," David begged, tears streaming down his face. "We lose everything if you don't drop the civil complaints. We'll be ruined. My mom will lose her freedom. I'm your husband." I stood up, zipped my leather briefcase, and looked at them both with total indifference. "You were my husband, David, but Wu told me to stop being selfish, so I took your advice. I looked out for myself." I walked out of the room, leaving them to the wolves. 1 month later, I moved back into my house. I changed the locks again, sold all of Martha's expensive furniture to pay for my legal fees, and threw her remaining clothes into the exact same garbage bags she used on me. But the story didn't end there. Last week, while cleaning out the secret wall safe in the master closet that David thought I never knew about, I found a hidden manila folder. Inside wasn't just the forged paperwork for my house. There were life insurance policies, 3 of them, all taken out in my name over the last 18 months, totaling $2 million. And the sole beneficiary wasn't David. It was Martha. They weren't just trying to steal my house. They were waiting for me to die.